hospitals for treatment. He was denied treatment from almost all the hospitals, and he had to stay with the bullet in his body for 4 days. After that, somehow we managed to extract the bullet. The violation of human rights did not stop there yet, because when we brought him back home, every night we were scared that police might arrest him, because at that particular time in Bangladesh, being a student was a crime. Every door-to-door law enforcement agencies were going and asking, do you have a student? And even he's injured, he or she was being arrested. So here I want to stress on the fact that some people might have survived the injury, like my brother, thankfully, but it's not always only about the physical injury. Coming from Bangladesh, a country where mental health support seeking is not always welcomed, rather than it is considered as a taboo most of the time, how do we deal with this generation of people who are mostly 18 to 25 years of age, that this entire generation is traumatized? Someone might not have gotten shot himself, but he saw his friend getting killed right in front of his eyes. So how do we deal with these people, these students, these victims? And I would urge the interim government and also the international community to support the system institutionally to support these victims, because we need it, because we are talking about an entire generation who are traumatized. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. The representative of the Netherlands, please.
Arvina, I will be very brief. Thanks for this opportunity to hear from the office about his work in Bangladesh, but especially also to hear some of the individual stories of those affected. I took the floor to express our deep appreciation for the willingness of Bangladesh to seek justice in its broadest sense for the violations committed. And we encourage the government to continue this path towards accountability. And we're very pleased to hear today that the domestic accountability measures will be used for the implementation of the recommendations contained in the report. I don't have a specific question, but I wanted to briefly praise OHHR for its quick action upon Bangladesh's invitation. And it's good to see that the newly established Human Rights Inquiries Branch has made this possible. It's an excellent example of a joint effort of the country concerned and the office towards accountability. And we hope this will set a good example to other governments in the same situation. Thank you.
Sorry. We will have to leave the room at 2 p.m. sharp. So I'll just call on that gentleman all the way in the back, and then we'll pass the floor to the panel.
Thank you very much, Madam. I speak on behalf of a consortium of anti-torture organizations. We are called the United Against Torture Consortium, which includes Redress, IRCT, the OMCT, Omega, and for us, the Association for the Prevention of Torture. So we have just returned from Dhaka for 2 weeks, focusing on finding out ways in which we can support local government bodies and local actors in sustainable systemic reforms, as many of the panelists have said today. So my question is more for the OHCHR and the law advisor in terms of the follow-up initiatives. To the OHCHR, we'd like to find out more about your next steps, and in particular, many of the stakeholders that we have spoken to locally in Dhaka would welcome the establishment of an OHCHR office there to go forward for the implementations of the recommendations that you have come. And I think for the law advisor, I wonder for us in supporting our local partners for the next year and our project, whether you see the ability for major reforms in the security sector and in the criminal justice system prior to the hosting of elections, which I understand is your next priority. Thank you.
Please, and then the High Commissioner.
There have been many questions. One particular question I'm interested to answer is somebody accused us of measures taken against the minority community. Let me clarify that there had been some incidents of political violence against the torturer, the hooligans of Awami League regime who oppressed and tortured people for many years, killed people. So there had been some incidents, and because of those incidents, a number of people who were deeply involved with the Awami League fascist regime, they were attacked. There had been some incidents like that. We strongly condemn that. But in most of the cases, those persons belong to Muslim community. Only a few of them belong to minority religions. So if you brand it as measures against minority community, I would beg to disagree. We have statistics, we have fact-checked information. If you like to talk after the incident, I'll show you. The second thing is there was one question about election in CHT. I should reaffirm that our government is committed to the voting right of every person in Bangladesh, be it at the CHT area, be it at any other places. And we have already formed a commission which will work on the local government issue. Third thing is I'm working with UNHCR, CHR. Of course, we are looking forward to that. We have already agreed a draft text, and I think we could go a long way to work together, and we are deeply grateful to OHCHR for that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. I mean, in terms of the Human Rights Council, first of all, as you know, in my global update referred specifically to the fact-finding report. I also referred to the situation in Bangladesh. It is a fact that the interim government, interim authorities have fully cooperated with us on the establishment of the report. We have now a process in place that seeks to follow up on the recommendations. Indeed, we are very close to hopefully finalizing our presence in the country, which would precisely be to provide the support, the technical cooperation on all the areas, including on the issue of disappearances. I mean, of course, we bring in also the mechanisms in fact, the interim government has already taking the steps to sign the Convention on Enforced Disappearances. There's a whole follow-up foreseen, because I fully agree with you. One of the truth-telling is about the fate of the disappeared people, because that brings closure for the families and for the loved ones, and that's incredibly important. It is a part of this victim-centered approach. We will continue to find ways to keep the Human Rights Council informed. That's also a very specific request that Dr. Yunus has put to me, and we will make sure that this is important. Just on more broader issue, and I have said it in my press conference in Dhaka at the time, it's a huge chance for the country at this pivotal time to deal with its past, to overcome its past, to reach a moment of healing and truth-telling, and that includes each and everyone within the society of Bangladesh. And it includes religious, ethnic, whatever differences you may have, but it is one country, it is one citizenship. And that's really what I think is happening at the moment, also the reform efforts, which I think all of us have to support, because it is meant from the perspective of anchoring human rights very much in the governance of the future of the country. And that's a unique opportunity for each and every citizen of Bangladesh, irrespective of, they belong to whatever group or community. And that's really, I think, one of the big hopes that we have on the human rights front. And I remember my first telephone conversation with Dr. Yunus. He said human rights is at the center of the reform and of the transition. And of course, this is hard work. There's no doubt about it. This is not easy. But I think if there is the right spirit of everyone, of the political parties, of the different communities, to get it in this direction, there is huge hope for the world to have a story of hope to tell in what is otherwise, frankly, a very difficult environment all over the place. So I really think we need to grasp the opportunity, support the opportunities that arise, and do our utmost to support this process of transition in this country. So thank you again very much for coming.
Thank you, High Commissioner. We end on that hopeful note. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all your questions, but please feel free to reach out to the office directly with any follow-ups. Thank you.
Selection.
No, there were.
হাতে হ্যান্ডকাপ আর পায়ে বেড়ি পরা, মাথায় পাগড়ি। এই উস্তাদ যখন আমাকে বললেন যে আপনি কি আমার হাতে এটা প্রথম দিন পেয়েছি, তারা বুক ফুলে দাপিয়ে বেড়াতো বাংলাদেশের রাজপথে। আর আলিম উলামা যারা মানুষকে সংশোধন করবেন, সমাজের ইসলাহ করবেন, তাদেরকে রাখা হয়েছে জেলে। আমি সর্বশেষ গ্রেপ্তার হয়েছিলাম 2022 সালের 12 ডিসেম্বর রাত্রে 1:15টার সময়। সিটিটিসির মেহমান হিসাবে ছিলাম 13 দিন। সেখানে আয়নাগরে আমাকে রাখে নাই, কিন্তু আয়নাগর আমি দেখেছি। বহু আলিম উলামা, বহু দিনদার মুসলমান, কেউ 14 মাস, কেউ 10 মাস, কেউ 8 মাস, মিনিমাম পেয়েছিলাম 2.5 মাস, তাদেরকে এখানে রাখা হয়েছে। তারা জানে না তারা কোথায় আছেন, তারা জানে না তাদের আপনজনরা বেঁচে আছে কিনা, আর তাদের আপনজন জানে না যে ইনারা বেঁচে আছে কিনা। মুখ ফুটে কথা বলার কোনো সুযোগ ছিল না, চোখের ইশারায় কথা বলত, হাত তুলে এরকম একে অন্যের জন্য দোয়া চেত। এরকম একটা শ্বাসরুদ্ধকর পরিবেশ ছিল, বিশেষ করে উলামায়ে কেরামের জন্য। এখানে আলিয়া আর কওমের কোনো বাস বিচার ছিল না। যিনি ইলমে দ্বীনের খেদমতে থাকবেন, যারই পছন্দ হয়নি তারই ঠিকানা এরকম হবে। 13 দিনের পরে কোর্টে আবার নেওয়া হলো, কিন্তু আদালতে তোলা হলো না। যে গাড়িতে আমাকে নেওয়া হয়েছিল মনে হয়েছে